Hello, 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 everyone, and welcome back to the Witches Inn. I am That Witch Karena, and it has been a very, very, very long time since I have posted on this channel. Over the last 2 or 3 years, like it has really been that long, I have been going through such a transformation. And over the last couple months, I have been getting this hit that I need to return to making videos in some way, shape, or form in order to deliver you the divine messages that are coming through for me. So sit and sip a while, and welcome back to the Witches Inn. I am here to share the divine messages from myself, the Oracle, that are channeled through the universe. As you can tell, my camera keeps adjusting, it keeps refocusing, which is telling me that I am in the right place, doing the right thing, and kind of adjusting and refocusing myself. So, as I titled this beautiful, beautiful video, this is all about my sacred return. And so I am going to offer you a little bit of a life update and then get into and ignite your fire tarot reading. So stick around for that. So, back in 2022, I decided that it was time to take my health into my hands. I could no longer deny what my body was telling me. And it was telling me that I was holding on to emotions, I was holding on to feelings and people and just stuck energy. And me knowing myself the way that I know myself, I knew that I couldn't just do this alone, that I needed help. And this was the first step along my journey of really stepping away from hyper independence and feeling like I was burdening other people and moving into a place of prosperity and abundance and receiving mode for me. So I reached out to my doctor and I got the referral, and things kind of moved very slow. There were some miscommunications at first. But then September 2022, I started my journey with the bariatric clinic at St. Joseph in Hamilton, and things progressed quickly. By April 2023, I was having surgery. I was on the operating table having surgery. The next day after my surgery, my life kind of imploded a little bit. I had an interpersonal conflict that happened that kind of really shook me to my core and made me realize the exact reason why I had had and the feelings that had brought me to having this surgery was that I needed to open myself up to receive help, and I needed to have people in my life who were willing to help me and be there for me and actually show up in moments of despair. I had um, uh, something quite life-threatening come forward, and I'm not going to share all of that now, just because I can feel it in my body that it's not quite, and you can see I'm adjusting, that I'm not quite ready to share all of that quite yet. But it really did set me on this path where I was like, oh, I can't hold that anymore. I can't hold expectations of how I want people to show up in my life. And instead, I really, really need to start seeing and evaluating how people are showing up in my life. And so I decided that it was time for me to really get serious about my health. So, over the next 2 years, I really treated my body as if it was a baby. And I started listening it so, so deeply to its intuitive pulls. And this idea of burdening myself in order to get into the best health that I have ever been in my life, honestly, truly. And that meant starting to get up quite early in the morning. And if you know me at all, I'm not really a morning person, even still. Like I get up around 7:30 in the morning, and that is much earlier than a younger version of self. If a younger version of self was hearing this, even 2 year ago version of self would be like, wow, we're like getting up that way in a way that like actually feels good for us. Cool. But I had to start getting up at 7:30 to make sure that I was fueling my body in a way that was sustainable. Because if you know anything at all or nothing at all about gastric bypass surgery, it's that you have to reach a certain amount of protein per day. You have to reach a certain amount of water intake per day. And obviously, starting your journey, right? Like there is only so much that you can actually consume. I couldn't eat solids for like 3 or 4 weeks. I had to like gradually, like a baby, introduce solids back into my life. And like that wasn't fully implemented until probably about 4 or 5 months after surgery, where I was like eating these meals that would resemble an actual meal that you would sit down to. So I had to make sure that I was getting up and fueling my body to start that protein count and then also start that fuel count while also getting time in for vitamins and also getting time in for to move my body so that stuck gas, because gas gets stuck in your body after a surgery like that, but also to help heal incisions and make sure that I wasn't getting like backed up and all that fun things that come with taking or having had take pain meds, and just this very real adjustment to the body. So I started getting up at 7:30 in the morning and fueling my body, and then getting on a really strict regiment of eat, drink, move, eat, drink, move, eat, drink, move. And so that was my life for 6 weeks until I really started to integrate getting back into work. So what's the funny thing about that is I had my surgery April 2023, and by October of 2023, I had lost, I think, about 90 pounds. I had dropped quite a bit of weight in like 6 months. And I hadn't really noticed it. Like I noticed it, but I hadn't really noticed it. And I was sitting at a workshop that I was hosting. It was a pussy power workshop. And someone had taken a picture of me. And so I had seen like my side profile. And I, it's the first time that I guess someone else had taken a picture of me, or maybe it was a picture that hadn't been taken in a really long time. And I was like, wow, like my life has really changed. Fast forward a couple more months, and I realized that my body was asking for a lot more movement. I had probably lost about 100, maybe 110 pounds by then, and my body was craving strength. So I had nurtured it, and had nourished it in a way that felt really good, and I was moving it, but it was asking for more. And so I started back into my yoga practice. And this has been now since February of 2024, an 18-month journey that led me through getting my yoga teacher training, my 200-hour yoga teacher training. And now I'm teaching yoga at least once a week for folks, sometimes more, at different studios all across Ontario. The biggest transformation, though, that I have seen in this space of this sacred return to self has been my inability to hold emotion. When an emotion bubbles up, I used to be someone that would literally just stuff it back down and be like, no, you don't get to say that out loud. You don't get to have that outburst. You don't get to cry. You don't get to do this. And it led me to one, gaining a lot of the emotional weight that I had gained, but two, holding on to a lot of emotional turmoil that wasn't mine. Now, post surgery, they tell you that your body takes about a year to 18 months to heal. What I noticed is that my body took the full 2 years to heal and really be in this place where it was like, what does this mean to me? How does this mean to me? How do I want to show up? What really wants to come forward for me? How do I want to handle this situation? Do I want to be putting this into my body? Do I want to be putting that into my body? Not just like food wise or beverage wise, but also like the consumption of people, places, and things, right? Does this align with the life that I am creating? Does this align with what I want to actually take in for myself? And up until about April, to eat, it would hurt. Like it would actually physically hurt, especially if it was a food that, like in the past, I would use to numb, or if I was speaking about things or with people that in the past would make me feel really uncomfortable and make me bypass my boundaries. And so, now that I'm 2 years post surgery, I'm like 20, 26, 27 months post surgery. What I'm really, really noticing is this opportunity to like stand in self, and that more and more that my intuition is has grown, has fostered, and it's something that I was very scared of losing. But how could you be scared of losing something, I mean, in hindsight, when the reason why you were doing it was so intuitive in the first place? So, um, Cancer season though, in my sacred return. So, Cancer season for me is always an opportunity to see where illusion is living in my life and to step out of that illusion and to really see like how how I have been living my life and where I am ready to evolve and step into next in my life. And this year, the illusion, the threshold that Cancer season held for me was for me to notice that I am not a burden, that I am not someone who asks too much. In fact, I'm someone that asks so little, but has been conditioned to expect only breadcrumbs, that I'm not going to accept that anymore. I'm not going to allow that anymore. And with anything that we are stepping through, with anything that we are looking to alchemize in our lives, a lot of doubt came through. And so, just like 2 and a bit years ago, when I had my bypass surgery, I literally had so much doubt, right? Like, is this going to work? What if this fails? What if I don't lose weight, even though my stomach is this small? What if this doesn't like help me with my life? What if this actually creates more burden? What if I get really sick? What if I can't keep up with the care? What if? And 2 years later, I'm realizing, like, wow, you're so much stronger. You're so much better off because you listened and understood that this was not something that I could have fixed because of the trauma in my body that my body held on my own, just through diet and exercise. I did need assistance. And that's okay. There is nothing wrong with that. And so, as I stepped through this threshold, or as I stepped through this threshold of Cancer season and seeing how this burden was surfacing within myself, how this burden was showing up, and the doubt was there of like, Do not burden others. Do not be in this place. You can hold it on your own. I reminded myself that I don't have to be hyper independent. I can ask for help. I can extend my emotion out to others, not asking them to hold them for me, but just to witness them, to be in a place where they can let me know that, like, yeah, this is too much for me, but I'm here for you. I'm doing the best I can. Instead of a place which I'm very used to, people being like, can you go do that over there? Can you go to your room and cry? Can you go? I don't want to see this. It's dysregulating me too much. And it's been such a beautiful experience to not only be able to hold myself through this doubt, but also to be seeing and feeling and experiencing the validation that is coming through other people the more and more that I open up. Because they know that I have me. And the only thing that I'm really truly asking them to do is to just be there and witness me. And so I'm opening up the Witch Within Coven because over the last 6 years that I have been in business, I have been teaching all these different courses. And the main thing that everyone keeps telling me is that, wow, through this course or that course, Tarot for Beginners, Witching 101, Witching 102, what you have taught me is that I am allowed to take up space, that I have always had a deep, deep understanding of my intuition. I just needed to learn how to trust it. I just needed to learn how to be with it. And so by learning these tools of witching and stepping through kind of shadow aspects of self, they've come to this place where they truly trust themselves, where the chaos that life brings us, because we can't escape the chaos of life, that is life. I mean, the seasons change, that they're able to see how sacred they are and how well equipped they are with dealing with whatever life might throw their way. And so the Witch Within Coven is only open to 12 members, and you get a 20-week course within these 12 members and myself, where you have live classes with me. We move through tarot for beginners so you can understand your intuition. We then move into Witching 101, where I teach you the basics to witchcraft and start to weave the story of what your inner witch truly looks like while using tools like tarot to help you listen and understand and discover how you want to be labeled as witch. We then take a little bit of break over Yule and come back for Tarot Embodied, which leads you through storytelling and a deeper understanding of the divination tool of tarot, and then move into Witching 102, where we actually get to actively practice witnessing and holding each other's stories while also hearing and holding our own stories to come forward for ourselves. The first three members to sign up are going to get a free 30-minute reading for me. And bonuses for all members who sign up is a spring session of Rooted in Sisterhood, which is the continuation of the Witch Within Coven, and also 6 sessions of my full moon Reiki cleanses that happen once a month over Zoom for the collective in order for you to just sit back and receive. I'm going to drop the link below so that you can book that. But I want to personally invite you. If my story has resonated with you in any way, I also encourage you to reach out to me via email, again, dropped in the description box below, or leave a comment. I would love to hear what you have to say, how this resonated with you, regardless if you want to join the Witch Within Coven or not. Of course, individual tarot readings and mentoring sessions are available. And again, you can find that all in the description box below. But to help us move through this threshold of Cancer into Leo season, I am going to do a 5 card Leo spread to help you awaken your inner flame and radiate with bold, unapologetic magic. So, our first question for the collective universe, these energetic ties that hold us all together, is that big, big Leo question. Leo asks us to really shine bright, right? So if Cancer season release the illusions, so if I see these illusions very clearly, where am I ready to stop dimming my light and step into the light? What part of myself am I holding back out of fear, shame, or habit? So let's see that. And the King of Pentacles. Ooh. Immediately, I am hearing that there is this fear of being perceived too much, that burden energy, right? Like, might even be a little bit of this addiction to complaining. Like, if my life is so good, then like, what if I don't have anything to fix? What if I don't have anything that like I need to move towards? And it's kind of this place where the King of Pentacles, like, or what if I'm perceived as like having too many resources, of having too many, like, too much leisure, too much time? Like, that can be a very big fear, right? I remember when I was going through school, right? And even when I was working with kids in the foster system and stuff, many children will leave themselves in a place of small, right? So let's say you grew up in a family that was illiterate. Even though a child might be excel a lot in like spelling and grammar, they'll almost like start faking it because it's like, I don't want to be ostracized from the people I know. I don't want to have to give something up, right? And so we dim our light so that we don't have to give something away, right? In order to get what we want. But what if we don't have to do that? What if we can actually like see where other people are and not hold that in a place of shame or guilt, but just be like, yeah, that's their experience. And me elevating up isn't going to make me more than, or, expand me in this way that's not going to make me fit in. But also, I'm not going to fear that, like, if something doesn't fit into my life anymore, that, like, I don't have to walk away from it in like anger. I can just be like, this just doesn't fit anymore. And like when I'm interacting with these people, it can be just that, an interaction instead of this like deep, deep connection that makes me feel embodied in some way. And so I guess like with this King of Pentacles, with where am I dimming my light? It's this fear of like, what if I become the billionaire that everyone hates? What if I actually don't use my superpowers for good and I end up being that like evil stepmom or that evil billionaire that everyone fears? But there's this countering energy that says like, but you know your heart. You know your roots. And like, yes, with great with great power of self comes great responsibility. I need to be able to hold myself accountable to myself, right? If I have morals and values, then it is up to me to uphold those morals and values. But I do not need to fear that, because the more that I step into that light and stop dimming it, the more that I actually empower those around me to start stepping into their light and stop dimming it as well. And so, what if, what if the thing that I am so scared of, the thing that is like creating this like fear of disconnect, is actually the thing that's going to create the connection that I deeply desire? And so from there, what is ready to be expressed through me? The energy, truth, or passion that wants to break free and be shared. Well, I think I've already kind of shared on that a little bit, but let's see what the cards have to say. Let's see what they are bringing forward for us in the collective. Thank you. So we have the Knight of Wands. Wow. And we have the Queen of Wands. So that fire, that energy, that like passion of like moving forward and being like, yes, I am someone who is like deeply, deeply committed to my growth. I am deeply, deeply committed to like the growth of humanity and communities. And in order to do that, I can't be afraid of seeing myself as someone who is deeply committed to that, right? Like, there, as Taylor Swift says, haters gonna hate, 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 hate. But in reality, like, we kind of need those people. We need them to let us know that, like, we are doing something right. Because if someone is going to project a feeling of, like, you're doing too much, wow, you really think that you are all that, like, that you are, like, such a good human being. Yes, I do. And unless you have an actual, like, real thing that is like causing you distress in me, something that I am not holding accountable in self that you can bring to me, then like, I don't want to hear it. I don't want to hear that you think that I'm virtue signaling. I don't want to hear that you think that I think my morals and values are better than yours because that's not true. Just because I'm choosing to live my life one way and because I don't want to live life the way that you are living life does not mean that like I think less of you. And if you think that that's the truth, I don't need like that's not mine to hold. That's for you. It's understanding that like this place of like what is ready to be expressed through self, my confidence, my deep, deep confidence in self. And that like I know who I am. I know what I am bringing to the collective. I know what I am bringing to my experience, and I'm not going to be afraid to share that anymore. This is exactly the energy of the Knight of Wands and the Queen of Wands. I am going to move with my passion in a confident way. And if people don't like that, that's not for me. And so that's what's ready to be expressed through you. So, what ignites my passion? A focus or area of the life that fuels your fire and lights you up. So, what lights your passion? What lights my passion? And here we are, judgment. Ooh, okay. Ooh, that kind of like hit heavy in the heart because I am seeing this as one judgment. I am the judge of me. And at the end of the day, if I know that I am going to bed and I'm like, today was a good day, I did well today, then I'm going to believe that. And I'm going to allow that to live freely in my experience. But also, I do think that there is a judgment around this place of end of life because judgment card does talk about like the rapture, the evolution of life, right? And what is the evolution of life? But this place of like, when I die, am I going to have regrets? When I die, am I going to like have that like flashback of memory? Can you tell I'm a Scorpio? That flashback of memory that goes like, yeah, I lived a good life. I did all I could. And I didn't let the fear of karma, because, right, this judgment card is karma, right? The fear of karma get in the way with what I knew was right for me. Knowing that, like, I am a person who is accountable to my feelings. And, like, I don't know about you, but, like, I know what shame and guilt feel like in my body. And when I feel shame and guilt, there like oftentimes it's not times when I need to feel shame and guilt. It's literally for like setting a boundary and being like, I hope this person's okay with that boundary. And so if that's the type of person I am, then maybe I'm not such a bad person. And maybe the things that like I really want to like achieve and step into and shine in my life aren't really that bad. And so like I don't really need to worry about like becoming that billionaire that like is like poo-pooing other people and like saying to others that like they just need to pull their bootstraps up and they can get where I get. No. Because you and I know that like life isn't that easy and that like the things that we do to create ease in whatever way, shape, or form is not wrong. But we also aren't the type of people that are like going to like actively step on other people in order to get there. And so from there, what support do I need to keep the flame burning? Guidance on tending my energy so I don't burn out. This is a huge one, right? Because, back to my story, during that like gastric bypass, that especially within that first year, I really, really tempered myself. I really, really was in a place where I was like, I am taking this full, I think I actually took 8 weeks off. I am taking a full 8 weeks off to just listen and sit with my body and let it know when and how it's like opening up to receive more and more. And from there is when I really allowed like me to start taking on clients because I didn't want to be in a place of burnout. And now over the last 2 years, like if I can feel that kind of like coming to the surface for me, I make sure to be like, oh, I don't have clients tomorrow. I'm going to book tomorrow off. Or I don't have clients in a few days. I'm going to book that day off that I have so that I actually like am creating the balance in which I seek. So how can we do that for the collectives? Like the support you need to keep that flame burning. Ace of Cups, I love it, and the Nine of Wands. Your body is so intuitive. And I work with so many folks that are like, I have no idea how to listen to my body. Like, I have no idea. And I get it because, like, I was that person at one point. But what I will actually tell you is that, like, you are listening to your body often. You're negating your body. Your body will tell you something. That is where your intuition lives. And then you're like, no, because of this fear of like missed connection, this fear of rejection, this fear of abandonment, this fear of like, what if I set a boundary and they don't like it and then they don't like me? And it's like, okay, well, maybe you don't like people that don't allow you to have boundaries. Or maybe people are allowed to not like your boundaries, and that doesn't mean that they don't love you, and that doesn't mean that they don't want to be around you. Like people are allowed their experience, right? And so if you are having trouble, right, with like this support of like your passion and burnout, and it's like it feels like you're like, whoa, like high, low, start listening to your heart. Start listening to where your heart wants to give love, and then understand that like our heart can be over empathetic at times. And so we need to be willing to have that boundary within our heart that's going like, does this actually serve me? Or is this going to be perpetuating a story of burnout, of leaving me at a loss, leaving me at a place where it's like, I really wanted to say no there, but out of pardon me, fear, confirmation verbs, right? Out of fear that like I am going to hurt someone, that I bypass my needs. The Nine of Wands is the wounded warrior. And so it's allowing the heart to say like I really want to do this, and also I feel this, and working that muscle of boundaries, because boundaries are for us, not for other people, to be like, I am allowed to be empathetic and I am allowed to have boundaries that are stronger than my empathy so that I can actually start to understand where my passion gets to live freely and where it doesn't. And from there, I get to make informed, conscious, awakened which choices rather than choices that I have been conditioned into. And so, last but not least, how can I boldly step into my power? So, how do I step into this Leo confidence and courage? And again, I love that like the Knight of Wands and Queen of Wands came out here because they are fire signs, right? They are this place of like Leo embodiment energy. So, how can we boldly step into that confidence? How can we boldly step into that courage? How can we boldly be like, yes, I am an empathetic being who also has boundaries? How do we do that? How do we do that? And we got two cards here. We have the Wheel of Fortune and we have the Devil. And I actually love that these two major arcana cards came out for this. Leo sits in this card as well, right? So it is this place where the devil says, I know who I am. I know what I am chained to. And so, what I would say is write a list. Write a list of all the ways that you feel chained in your life. Write a list of all the ways that you feel tired. Write a list of all the ways that you feel resentment. Like, give yourself a good half hour or hour. Leave that list out. Be in a place where, like, over a week, you come back to it and write more and more things down so that you can actually begin to see where you need to make that change, where the Wheel of Fortune actually wants to shift for you. Go down that list and like notice like what is the easiest, most easiest thing to do on this list. Maybe none of it is easy. And maybe you need to be like me and reach out for help, right? And you want to contact me because you're like, oh, wow, you know what? Listening to this, you sound like a good mentor. You sound like someone that could actually really help distinguish what energy is mine and what energy is other people's. You can actually help me become that witch where I'm not going to fear persecution from other people because I know who I am. I know what I bring to the table. So write that list down. What makes me feel tired? What makes me feel resentment? What makes me feel anger? But write another list. What makes me feel joy? What makes me feel bold? What makes me feel confident? Who makes you feel confident? What makes you feel confident? Maybe a certain outfit really makes you feel confident. The way that you do your hair, the way that you do your makeup. Start writing things down and perceiving yourself, becoming the observer of who you are, so that when other people tell you who you are, you can own it. Yeah, that is who I am. You're right. You're right. I am going to say no to that because that isn't something that lies within my integrity. That isn't something that's going to make me feel confident. That isn't something that I need to have courage to step into because I just know it's a no for me. And that's okay. Stop fearing the fear of being perceived by other people and step into the devil. I know who I am. I know what I am chained to, and I am choosing this. And from these choices, I actually get to make that bold, courageous choice to make changes, to make adjustments, to step more into who I am. I think the important point that I want to leave you with before we say goodbye today is that you are not broken. And I want like Cancer season to Leo season threshold to let you know that you are not broken. You are not a broken person. You are a bold and courageous person who has maybe often had to make decisions that have left you self-abandoning. And you're recognizing more and more that you don't want to do that anymore. And you're ready to step into your confidence and hold it with more gusto, with more like, yes, this is who I am. More of that devil energy. Well, don't you just think you're the cat's ass. I do. Thank you. I do. I know who I am. You are not broken. You do not need to be fixed. And you can embody more of whatever witch means to you so that you can truly discover your inner magic. All right, magical beings. I am that witch Karina. This is your intuitive message for the week. A return to your sacred self. If you would like to get in contact with me, I invite you to check out the description below. Leave me a comment. Tell me what resonated the most about this video for you. And until next time, I will see you later. Bye.